Otto agreed, but never knew that Peter was so evil. Lizard, Electro, and Sandman were on the fence about joining Venom. Sandman especially. He explained to everyone in the room how Venom is a liar and that he lied to him when he tried to team up to take down Spider-Man. Sandman said that he was a hero and that Otto died because he drowned and that the Goblin was killed by his own hand. Venom became intrigued by this, asking Flint what happened to them. Flint told Venom the future, how Spider-Man killed him with a pumpkin bomb. Venom was shell-shocked, knowing that this was the Flint of his world, but the symbiote told him it must have been from the future. The villains didn't believe Sandman, and Venom told Flint he lied about everything. As the villains were arguing about themselves, Peter decided to leave and went to seek Norman Osborn, who he saw at Feast as Peter got Norman. He told him he was sorry as Strange locked him in a cell. With all of the villains captured, Doctor Strange said that Peter kills them in each of their universes, and not being able to accept this, Peter wanted to help the villains. He told Strange that there needed to be another way, as Spider-Man isn't a killer. Venom taunted Spider-Man again, and said to him that if he didn't help them out, he would continue being a cold-blooded killer. Doctor Strange yelled for Peter not to do this, as he was being manipulated. Before Strange could react, a web took the magic box before Strange fought with Spider-Man in the Sanctum Sanctorum. Parker dodged attacks from Doctor Strange, who told him that he lost his mind and that he can't be trusted anymore. This time, Doctor Strange didn't fight in the mirror dimension, but fought him in the Sanctum. Using magic and spells to defeat Spider-Man, it wasn't working. Norman yelled for Peter to save him. Otto did too. Before putting the pressure on Peter, Parker dodged a spell that broke parts of the ceiling on Doctor Strange, knocking him out cold. Peter ran to his aid to see if he was okay, before the spell on the cells had broken. Parker told the villains that he could cure them if they gave him a chance, but they didn't listen as Venom grabbed the box from Peter, while Sandman, Electro, and Lizard ran away. Norman smirked, begging for help. Spider-Man tried to help him before Norman punched him in the face. Parker flew across the room and everyone stopped. As Electro, Lizard, and Sandman were about to leave the Sanctum Sanctorum, Green Goblin told them that they have gifts and that they don't need to be cured of Spider-Man. Venom agreed, telling everyone how Spider-Man murdered everyone and that if they can kill him, they can rewrite history. Green Goblin grabbed Peter's face, smashing it through the wall before dragging his body towards the group. While Venom beat down on him with awe, Green Goblin told the rest to go to Feast, where they could upgrade their suits and equipment. While Parker is broken by the villains, he makes a last-ditch effort to phone Ned and MJ about the situation, telling them the villains have escaped and that they're coming for Aunt May. Peter tried phoning Aunt May multiple times. She didn't pick up the phone. Parker became enraged. He looked at Doctor Strange's body, where he found a sling ring. Knowing this would help him, maybe he could defeat the villains. Peter decided to take it, and he met up with Ned and MJ where they could help him if they needed him. Peter met with them and they all hugged on a building rooftop. They asked how he could do it alone. Peter put his head down but told them that they need him to use it and ask for him. Strange explained it earlier, but it would help him just in case he doesn't come back. They cried before Peter left them with one last group hug. Peter swung to the Feast building where he stood in shock. A black web in letters told Spider-Man that today he would die. Parker heard screaming as Peter ran towards the top of the building before he could see that Electro had Tony's technology. Otto had new arms and Green Goblin was hovering over all of them. Doc Ock had Aunt May with his new arms. Venom told him that if he comes any closer, then his Aunt May would die. Venom then laughed, saying that it was Green Goblin who revealed her location and that this would be his weakness because in his universe, his Uncle Ben was his weakness. Knowing that this needed to end now, Peter gave a big breath before screaming at the villains. He used his webs to dodge Venom before Electro charged up, before Spider-Man dodged it. The bolt hit Venom's back. As this happened, Spider-Man kicked Lizard in the face, using his webs to attach to the Goblin's glider, kicking Otto in the head, knocking him out temporarily. Aunt May fell to the ground before Peter grabbed her. As he grabbed her, Sandman told Parker that he didn't want to die, so he must fight him, knocking him back. Parker lost his grip on Aunt May before Venom grabbed her with the web. Venom had May, where May begged for her life, before Green Goblin took her from Venom, hovering over Parker. Parker was outmatched 6-1. Anything he tried to do wasn't working. Green Goblin told Peter that only fools are heroes, and that it only takes one person to ruin everything. Peter lunged at Goblin before Venom used the symbiote holding him down. Venom told Parker that Goblin was going to kill Aunt May in front of him, so that he can experience what they felt when they were killed by him. Green Goblin took out a blade from his wrist and was ready to kill her before he smiled and dropped her. Parker screamed May as she fell down the building, ripping the symbiote tendrils. Peter dived for Aunt May, but it was already too late. Peter had May in his hands. Aunt May told Peter that he was good and was only ever trying to do good. She said that with great power comes great responsibility before dying in Peter's arms. Peter screamed, and the Bugle News came on time, reporting on the incident. Green Goblin flew behind Peter, where he choked him, punching Spider-Man in the face 3 times before throwing him down, where Venom used the symbiote to knock him back. Sandman punched Spider-Man. Lizard jumped on him, kicking him towards Electro, where Electro kept shocking Peter. Green Goblin walked towards Spider-Man and was ready to kill him before Venom used the symbiote to grab Goblin's knife before stabbing it into Peter. Venom picked up Peter's body and threw him away. Venom said that it was done as Green Goblin took a pumpkin bomb, throwing it. As the villains left Feast, the building blew up and came down on Spider-Man. MJ and Ned had been worried about Parker, so they decided to use the sling ring, asking for Peter Parker. Peter from another world came out of the portal and explained how he was Spider-Man from another universe. That would be Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. Peter was shocked to see them. He was confused, but knew that he was sent to another reality. MJ and Ned asked for his help as they haven't heard from their Peter. They saw in the news that Feast had been obliterated. They tried again to get Peter back, but another Peter Parker came from the portal. It was none other than Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker. He explained how he was sent here, but he didn't know why. Because of this, he knew that he needed to help him. As Peter 2 and Peter 3 saw each other, they briefly fought before knowing they were on the same side. They immediately suited up in this timeline as all of the villains have been on the loose and not cured. Peter 2 and Peter 3 swung to Feast, only to find everything broken, but someone was standing there. They approached the man, who was none other than Doctor Strange himself, who was shocked to see 2 other Spider-Men. Strange said how he was too late to save the kid. If only he would have listened, then maybe none of this would have happened. The 2 Spider-Men lifted debris, but couldn't find anything. Peter 2 yelled, and Tobey's Spider-Man saw an arm, where both Parkers started lifting him. They got Peter 1 out of the debris, but he was hurt bad. Peter 1 cried, but saw MJ and Ned. They ran to him, where they hugged Peter. Peter slowly got up as he looked to see Doctor Strange and 2 other Spider-Men. Peter was destroyed as his Aunt May had been killed by the villains, who he originally only wanted to help cure and send them back. Peter told the other 2 Spider-Men that he doesn't care anymore what happens, but he said that he was going to put an end to this. Peter vowed that he was going to kill every last one of them. Doctor Strange said there isn't much time left to stop them. They had the box, and if they use it, they could destroy the multiverse. The villains knew that the box needed to be destroyed. If Strange got it, they would be sent back to their original spots before they were killed. Venom told them that if they destroy the box, they can't be sent back home. Green Goblin took the box, laughing, before blowing it up with a pumpkin bomb on the Statue of Liberty. The 3 Spider-Men saw the explosion, knowing that they needed to stop this right now. Strange saw the multiverse started to break and knew that he had to stop this. Peter 1 asked to go with them as this was his fight. The 2 Peters looked at each other and agreed, giving their hands out to him before he said goodbye to MJ and Ned. The timeline has changed as they aren't curing the villains, but putting them away for good this time. As the villains looked to see the multiverse break, they were confused at what was going on before they were met with 3 Spider-Men. Peter 2 couldn't couldn't believe his eyes. He saw Doc Ock, Green Goblin, Sandman, and Venom all together. Things were about to get personal. Venom looked at one of the Spider-Men, but made a massive scream, telling Parker that now he gets his revenge on his own Spider-Man. Venom revealed his face to the three Spider-Men. Tobey's Peter was shocked that Eddie had returned. Peter too had unfinished business with Venom after the death of Harry Osborn in his universe. Andrew's Peter saw Electro and the Lizard trying to calm them down before the battle started. Doctor Strange began to create the spell, trying to fix the multiverse before it was doomed. Peter 2 and Venom locked into a brawl where Peter 1 attacked Green Goblin. Peter 3 started fighting Electro and the Lizard. The fight was insane. Both sides wanted to win. Peter 2 yelled that Venom's weakness was loud noises. Tom's Peter decided to take revenge. He kicked Green Goblin off of his glider, making him fall to his death, before Andrew's Peter knew that he couldn't let him die. Before saving the Goblin, he got into a heated battle down below. Norman stabbed Peter 3 with a knife down below as Peter 3 went to hand-to-hand combat, knocking out Green Goblin. Venom webbed up Peter 2, Maguire's Peter having flashbacks of this before, where he was webbed up and saw his friend die. He couldn't let that happen again to Peter 1. With all of his might, he tried his best to break free. Tom's Peter fought with Venom on top of the Statue of Liberty. Venom gained the upper hand on Peter, who was already weakened, and clawed his face before summoning a symbiote knife. Eddie smiled before stabbing it through Peter 1, kicking him to the ground. Otto looked shocked as Peter 1 was stabbed. Venom unmasked Peter 2, throwing his mask away, explaining how all he wanted was sweet revenge, and now he can get it on 3 Peters. Ock stood still and said Peter. He knew that it was his Peter. Parker told Otto that Venom was manipulating him to fight him. Otto knew that something was amiss and that maybe Peter had been right all along. Venom said that he enjoyed his revenge before summoning the blade and was ready to kill him before Ock's arms wrapped around Venom. Venom screamed, using the symbiote to break free before Maguire's Spider-Man screamed, spearing Venom off of the Statue of Liberty. Venom hit hard down below, trying to crawl to his feet. Peter 2 punched Venom again and again as Peter 3 was dishing out blows to the Green Goblin. Sandman helped Otto after realizing that he's been tricked. They stopped the Lizard and Electro. Peter 2 was hit back by the symbiote, and Peter 3. The symbiote started getting bigger. Peter 1 looked down below before knowing that they needed help. Otto extended a hand out to him. Peter 1 got back up and thanked him before jumping all of the way down. Peter 2, 3, and Green Goblin had been knocked out from Venom, who had turned into a completely new monster. Venom screamed, saying that they will all pay, before Peter 1 stood in front of him. Venom laughed and said that it was too late for him. Peter 1 screamed, running towards Venom, lunging at Venom as the 2 other Peters were down for the count. They could only watch down below. Peter punched Venom again before some of the Venom symbiote had gotten onto him. Peter 2 slowly got up and told Peter 1 not to take the symbiote. The power of the symbiote was tempting. Then Peter 1 remembered what Aunt May told him. As Peter kept getting the symbiote on him, punching Venom, he started ripping the tendrils off of him. Venom laid on the ground defeated. Peter 2 helped Peter 3 up before they walked towards Venom, who was unconscious. Peter 2 said that he did good and didn't give in to his anger. A voice could be heard. Can Spider-Man come out to play? Green Goblin has crawled his way back up. Laughing, he took a pumpkin bomb, telling the heroes that they would all be going with him to hell. As he detonated the bomb, the 3 Spider-Man's spider sense went off as Venom tried to lunge behind them. Peter 2 took one of the bombs, throwing it at Venom. Before Peter 1 and 3 threw the other at Green Goblin, the bombs exploded, defeating Green Goblin and Venom for good. Green Goblin tried to crawl before Peter 2 knocked him out. Venom's symbiote had been destroyed in the process. Eddie Brock was down for the count. Peter might have cured him in the end, and Strange told the 3 Spider-Man that he was sending everyone home and forgetting that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Parker agreed as the three hugged one last time before Tom's Peter gave MJ and Ned one last goodbye. Venom and the Sinister Six had been defeated. Tom's Peter sent everyone back, and Strange screamed and performed the spell, erasing everyone from knowing that Peter was Spider-Man. Everybody was sent back, and everything was fixed. The multiverse hadn't been destroyed. Peter came home, missing May, but knew that she would be proud of him. At the same time, Eddie in another universe wouldn't get the symbiote in Spider-Man 3, leading to him never attacking Peter. Harry would live where Peter would never fight Venom, or know of a Venom after he ripped the symbiote off of him. In the MCU timeline, Tom Hardy's Venom was sent back, and Peter woke up after a long day, only to find himself dangling near a tall building. He looked in the mirror, seeing that his whole suit was black. He knew that Venom's symbiote might not have fully left his Stark suit, and Peter smiled as he had full power. And that is going to be it for this Marvel's What If on the 2007 Venom being in Spider-Man No Way Home. How did you like the changes I made in Spider-Man No Way Home? It was almost reversed, where the villains didn't get cured. Some of the moments were not the same, like Andrew saving MJ, because I really wanted to twist and turn and showcase how Venom can easily manipulate villains such as Ock and even Green Goblin. That is going to be it for the Spider-Man fan fiction. If you guys did enjoy this Marvel's What If, do make sure to subscribe, like, share, and turn your notifications on so you and your friends are all up to date with latest content. But anyways, as always guys, thanks for tuning in and have a fantastic day.